Today on Week in Review, the Nisga'a First Nation celebrated a major anniversary, a report looks into a yearly traveling healthcare-related event in BC, and a terrace entrepreneur is speaking out after being violently attacked. Hello, I'm Cael Maslin, and thanks for joining us here on Week in Review, where we cover all of the news here in the Northwest from this past week. The Nisga'a First Nation recently celebrated a historic anniversary date, as it's now been a quarter of a century since a monumental milestone to gaining their independence was reached. This past Sunday officially marked 25 years since the landmark Nisga'a Treaty came into effect, which was the first treaty in Canada to ever include the right to self-government in its terms, and served as a big step forward for the Nisga'a First Nation in their quest to take charge of their own destiny. And on Friday, at the end of last week, the Nisga'a-lism's government held a celebration at their main office building in Gitlac-Damix, the village that was formerly known as New Ianche. Nisga'a Nation President Eva Clayton attended the event and ended up discussing the importance of the treaty, not just in the sense of what it did for her people, but how it could help others as well.
The treaty will provide them with a framework to establish what they want so that they can, as they negotiate their way into Canada.
The event also saw the Nisga'a give a shout out to their treaty partners like the federal government and BC provincial government, while noting that their current relationship with both entities is at a good spot.
We're pleased with the relationship we've established with Canada and BC. There have been challenges, but as we move forward in carrying on with that relationship, there will no doubt be challenges, but challenges that we all have to overcome.
Many Nisga'a Nation members came out to help commemorate the day that can be pointed to as a big turning point in not only helping their nation get the ability to govern itself, but also to take steps to gain control over its own economy as well. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cael Maslin. Next up is a report on a yearly event that travels around the province and looks to encourage young kids to consider that their future might be in healthcare. The University of Northern British Columbia is spending a couple of weeks in May putting on their Healthcare Traveling Roadshow, an event that has been happening every spring since 2010 and looks to give young people some ideas on what their future career could look like.
So the Healthcare Traveling Roadshow is an outreach initiative that tries to inspire rural high school students to consider careers in healthcare. We have a diverse group. We're representing 10 different healthcare careers on this trip. So we're trying to show that there's diversity of the individuals and the careers that you can go into in healthcare. It's not just doctors and nurses, though those are certainly important jobs also. So we've got a collection of university students and college students from across the province who are here doing presentations at the high schools. And then they're also getting to travel together and get to know one another from different professions.
The roadshow sees its participating university students begin their presentations with a quick PowerPoint about who they are and what they're studying to become. And after that, small groups of students are sent around to 10 different tables that teach them about careers in healthcare, while also giving them the chance to interact with various pieces of medical equipment. And while there aren't any tangible numbers gathered by the university that show how effective the roadshow has been at steering students into healthcare careers available at the moment, the people in charge of it have a pretty good idea as to how useful it's been.
We by and large already know that this works, and we just need people who are willing to do it. So my focus for this project has mostly just been on getting the funding to run it and making the event successful. And I am doing a little bit of research on it as well, but that hasn't been a priority for most of the time, as I say, because we already know that this is something that we need to do.
The roadshow goes on 3 week-long tours in May, with the one in the north having already passed through Terrace, Kitimat, Loch Williams, and Gitlac-Damix this year, and one more tour in the final week of the month is slated to take place in the Peace region and is set to travel to locations like Dawson Creek and Fort St. John. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cael Maslin. The Terrace Rotary Club recently made the decision to start a brand new endowment fund at Coast Mountain College, and through that they have donated $10,000 to the CMTN Foundation, and that donation amount is set to be matched by the college as well. This fund is set to support a pair of yearly $1,200 awards that will be given out to students that Coast Mountain College deems as most deserving, with one being awarded for their academic program and the other going towards their trades program. Terrace's Rotary Club already awarded scholarships to UNBC students as well as high schoolers via the Northwest Scholarship Foundation, and Rotary Club member John Crawford went on to explain how this particular scholarship came about.
We have a couple of members who are with Coast Mountain College, and they were making sure that we were aware of the foundation there, the CMTN Foundation. And so we said, well, absolutely, we shouldn't have the high school and the university funded with a scholarship and not the college. So let's make sure that education continues for a deserving candidate and keep good, talented people here in the Northwest if we can.
The main goal of the Rotary Club in this endeavor is to help keep the Northwest as educated as possible, since post-secondary education can be quite expensive in this day and age. Up next, Smithers police are dealing with complaints about youths recklessly driving ATVs. Welcome back. A terrace entrepreneur is speaking out after being violently assaulted on the premises of his business, and the perpetrator was released. CFTK's Cael Maslin now with more information.
Noman Khan says he was performing his duties at the Days Inn in Terrace, BC, when a situation escalated and he was attacked unprovoked from behind. Khan says the altercation started when he respectfully asked an individual to stop using profane and aggressive language towards himself and his team. He says that despite efforts to de-escalate the situation, including offering a full refund, the individual became increasingly hostile, began filming them, disrupted other hotel and restaurant guests, and ultimately launched a brutal and calculated physical attack from behind. Khan sustained multiple serious facial fractures, including a broken nose, and will require several surgeries. He says he did not fight back, fearing consequences and preferring to deal with the police. Khan says that police were called to the scene. He says the individual was charged with assault and was conditionally released within the hour. Khan isn't happy with this. He believes the case was mishandled and wants the assailant charged with aggravated assault as well as uttering threats, causing a disturbance, and mischief. He says the perpetrator continues to slander his business online as well as threaten him. He says it's left his family, staff, and guests to live in fear. In a statement from the Terrace RCMP, they say on the evening of May 6th, 2 men each reported to police that they were assaulted by the other at a hotel on Lake Elsa Avenue. The investigation leads police to believe that one man, a patron of the hotel, punched the other after an interaction between them. The patron was arrested for assault and later released with conditions and a court date. Police say results of this investigation will be forwarded to BC Prosecution Services for consideration of charges that may be approved, and no further information is being released at this time. Khan has taken his case to MLA Claire Rattay, who wasn't available for comment but has personally committed to assisting with the situation. Khan says it's a matter of public safety and that several of his staff have suggested holding peaceful protest outside City Hall. This isn't the first assault in which the perpetrator was quickly released. Last week, a man was hit over the head with a tire iron in the YXT parking lot. That perpetrator was quickly released. While Khan works on recovery, he says that he understands that justice takes time, but wants to ensure it is served. For CFTK News in Terrace, I'm Cael Maslin.
A new report from the Terrace RCMP documented a few major incidents from the past week. Police found various illegal items after executing a search warrant at a home on Queensway Drive in Thornhill. Some of the items found included prohibited weapons, cash, suspected cocaine, and illicit pharmaceutical drugs, with the search also leading to 7 people being arrested in this still ongoing investigation. In another incident, someone reportedly saw a man hit another man with his vehicle and then get out and hit that man over the head with a tire iron afterwards in the Terrace Airport parking lot. The victim was eventually taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, and the suspect was arrested while later getting aggravated assault charges approved against him at a future court date. A new weekly report from the Kitimat RCMP has kept track of what kind of incidents the detachment had encountered during the first week of May. At one point, a traffic stop was conducted on a vehicle in the Whitesale neighborhood that had expired insurance. The driver had to give a breath sample as well, and that sample produced a warn reading, so the driver immediately got hit with a 3-day roadside driving prohibition to go along with their violation ticket for being uninsured, and their vehicle was towed. Another part of the report talked about a different vehicle being pulled over, and its driver also got a driving prohibition for driving while their license was canceled. Police in Kitimat are warning the public of a scam that's going around. Police said that back on May 8th, a resident came into the Kitimat RCMP detachment to report a suspicious email with a letter attached. The letter appeared to be an official RCMP letter and stated that the person was being investigated for accessing child pornography. The Kitimat RCMP are confirming that this is a scam and a phishing email. The RCMP say that they would never contact a suspect of a crime via email or letter. They say the letter has been reported at several detachments over the past week. If you receive this email, RCMP say to delete it and to not respond. And Furlise and Smithers are saying that they're dealing with an uptick in complaints about youths riding all-terrain vehicles in Telkwa. The Smithers RCMP said that they're urging parents to educate their kids about unsafe use of quads and ATVs after people have complained about young people riding without helmets on prohibited roadways. Mounties say the riders complained of appeared to be underage and are unlicensed while not wearing any safety gear. Sergeant Jim Preston with the Smithers RCMP says riding without proper training or gear is risky, and officers are deeply concerned that dangerous riding will lead to a tragedy that would otherwise be preventable. After the break, the Terrace Little Theater is in the midst of running a play. Welcome back. Now we look to a local theater in the midst of putting on a production this month and check to see how it's being received. The Terrace Little Theater has been staging the production of a play throughout parts of the month of May, and this particular show comments heavily on a subject that many might consider inescapable at this moment in time.
It's a dark comedy, and it's about the state of things in America right now. It was written in response to 9/11, so that was at around the year 2000, 2001, about the Bush administration and the Republicans down in the USA. And it is now much more timely than it was then.
The God of Hell follows a dairy farming couple living quietly together before their lives get infiltrated by a strange government agent that is peddling Americana wares. The play came from the mind of a well-known writer and actor, although its subject matter was not what he was typically known to write about.
It's written by a gentleman named Sam Shepard. He's passed away now. Some of his plays have gone on to win the Pulitzer Prize in the United States. This is one of his lesser-known plays. It's a later play that he wrote and he very rarely wrote political plays. They were usually about the death of the American dream and the family. But this one takes a bit of a turn.
The play was previously put on at the end of last week on May 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, and will be shown again starting tonight with more showings taking place tomorrow and Saturday, all of which will take place at 7 p.m. outside of a 2 p.m. matinee on Sunday. The reception to the production so far has been a positive one, which can most likely be owed not only to the efforts of the cast and crew, but also to the now more relevant than ever themes discussed in the play.
They're going really well. People are really enjoying themselves. They're having a great deal of fun because there's so many parallels to what's going on with President Trump down in the United States right now. So people are picking up on all of that and having a really good time with it. And it's hard. We're competing against the sunshine, and it's May long weekend coming up, but we're pretty happy, and our audience is happy too.
$25 tickets to the play are available at Misty River Books and at the theater door prior to the play starting, but regardless of how you might get in, the Terrace Little Theater is promising that you will have a great time nonetheless. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cael Maslin. And at the end of last week, the Port of Prince Rupert welcomed its first cruise ship of what is shaping up to be a busy season. The ship that arrived that day was the Serenade of the Seas, carrying 2,100 passengers. It arrived at 7 o'clock in the morning and stayed until 5 o'clock before continuing on its route to Vancouver. The Port of Prince Rupert is expected to welcome nearly 4 dozen cruise calls this season, bringing upwards of 65,000 passengers to the community this year. The Port Authority asked locals to please use extra caution and slow down for pedestrians around Cael Bay and downtown. The Northwest Regional Airport just outside of Terrace recently released their passenger statistics that they accumulated during the month of April. The total number of passengers to pass through the airport in April was 20,653, an increase of almost 220 people from March. And going back to December of 2024, the passenger numbers for the airport have generally been increasing by April's final number, and it's up almost 5,000 people compared to December of 2024. The City of Prince Rupert recently highlighted the main items that they discussed at their most recent City Council meeting from the previous week. A major part of the meeting saw atmospheric perspectives and Connect landscape architecture give Council a presentation on the upcoming Japanese-Canadian Legacies Memorial and Mariners Memorial Wall Replacement Project. Construction on that particular project is expected to go ahead sometime within the next few or so months. Prince Rupert Council also gave both first and second reading to a proposed new update on the Fire Control and Protection Bylaw that is numbered 3633. The city staff are currently said to be scheduling engagement with the public in the near future so that they can learn what the locals think of the proposed change. Still to come, BC's current snowpack level is raising a few concerns. Welcome back. In a recent statement that was made by the North Coast Haida Gwaii MLA Tamara Davidson, it was revealed that applications are now being accepted for a funding program aimed at supporting food security and sovereignty for North Coast Indigenous organizations and communities. The window to apply for funding from the Indigenous Food Security and Sovereignty Program is set to remain open until May 20th. Some local entities that got funding last year included the Gitga'at First Nation receiving $250,000 and the Haida Enterprise Corporation getting $155,500. The North Central Local Government Association annual general meeting got underway in Prince Rupert this past week. At this annual general meeting, local government representatives from across northern and central BC came together to consider and work together on opportunities for shared advocacy and to advance economic and community resilience. The NCGLA says that this year, key items being discussed include local government impacts of the trade war, legislative reform for regional districts, regional economic investments, and healthcare and mental health supports. The currently low snowpack in the province is raising not only environmental concerns, but power concerns as well. Here's CTV's Yasmin Gandam with more.
Clear and sunny skies means not a lot of snow on the mountains.
So below normal, but not quite as extreme as last year for April 1st.
BC's latest water supply bulletin shows a risk of drought with the snowpack sitting at 71% of normal.
The downside of low snow is that it then could lead to water availability issues, drought issues, and oftentimes wildfire is associated with the drought.
Less water equals less electricity, and this energy expert says that's concerning.
And that's one of the reasons BC Hydro has become a significant net importer of electricity, including from the United States. In fact, record amounts.
The power gap comes as Donald Trump is calling on Canada being the 51st state and slapped our country with steep tariffs.
Unfortunately, we've handed the president a bit more leverage because we're depending on the United States right now to keep our lights on.
Penner says we may not be able to control the weather, but we can control energy policy. He's calling on the province to remove electric vehicle mandates.
We have to import power And the regime they put in place means it could end up putting money in the hands of Elon Musk, who frankly hasn't really indicated that he's a friend of Canada.
It comes as the province has approved 9 new Indigenous-led wind power projects to meet the growing demand for electricity. The massive Site C Dam in northern BC is also expected to generate energy, which will come online by the end of this year. Yasmin Gantam, CTV News, Vancouver.
Leaked safe supply documents earlier this year have led to a formal corruption investigation. CTV's Rob Buffum explains further.
Changes to safer supply laws in BC were triggered when this leaked document from the Health Ministry acknowledging widespread trafficking of the drugs was made public by Conservative MLA Eleanor Sturco in February. Sturco, the public safety critic, recently faced a police interview amid an RCMP investigation into the leak.
It's our duty to hold this government accountable, and having this information safely and securely brought forward by members of the public is at the heart of an MLA's duty to represent the public.
The investigation was directed by the Director of Police Services, Glenn Lewis. The public safety minister in charge of police in BC and Lewis's superior denies he knew about the investigation beforehand and says the decision was made independently and he approves of it.
I certainly approve of an investigation being conducted into the information that was provided by her.
But Begg's boss, the Premier, was seemingly less approving of the probe, saying police time should better be spent chasing criminals selling drugs or pharmacies giving kickbacks, not a whistleblower flagging a problem, something the NDP's legislation from 2019 was supposed to protect against.
I really hope that there is more effort going into investigating these pharmacies rather than anything related to the member and what she did in this House.
Opposition leader John Rustad worries about broader chilling effects, including for the health community.
That they feel it is unsafe for them to speak out, whether it's doctors or whether it's nurses. They're telling us the stories, but they say we cannot speak, we cannot say anything. They're afraid.
The RCMP say the investigation isn't into Sturco, but rather any police who leaked the document. EB says the government looked into it, but can't order the probe stopped.
Recognize effective opposition work. This was certainly a case of that. If I had had those documents on the other government, I wouldn't have hesitated.
Protecting her source, Sturco says they're not police, adding she found the situation intimidating.
I felt worried. It is intimidating to receive, even for myself as a former police officer, when you hear that an anti-corruption unit wants to talk to you. It's not a great feeling.
Robert Buffum, CTV News.
The province says 275 people have died from BC's toxic drug supply crisis in February and March, but numbers have been trending downward. The BC Coroner's Service said overdose deaths fell to 143 in March, and 132 people died in February, both declining more than 30% from numbers reported during the same time last year. The service also said March is the 6th straight month where fewer than 160 overdose deaths were reported in BC. In the first quarter of this year, Vancouver had the most recorded overdose deaths with 97, followed by Surrey's 52 and Victoria's 28. That wraps up this edition of Week in Review. Make sure to tune into our regular newscast on Tuesday at 5, 6, 6:30, and 11 o'clock here on CFTK-TV. Thank you for tuning in and have a good weekend.